Welcome back to HFO Multifamily Marketwatch, your trusted source for information for apartment owners and investors. Multifamily Marketwatch is presented by Pacific Exteriors Northwest, a contractor specializing in siding and exterior envelopes and delivering exceptional quality and service for over 30 years. And by Gantry Incorporated, the nation's largest independent mortgage banking firm.
Welcome back to Multifamily Market Watch. I'm Greg Frick, partner at HFO Investment Real Estate. And today we have with us Emily Picha. She's with ECOnorthwest, a company we're very familiar with. You're project director and chief of staff, so thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We wanted to talk about the All-In on Central City report. I think it came out in June that you guys were really involved with. Maybe give some high level of what it is, what was the purpose, and then we can talk about the report itself.
Sounds great. Yeah, so this work, probably the story begins back in the summer of 2023 when the governor convened the Central City Task Force along with Dan McMillan. They were co-chairs. And the 5 committees that were involved in that, they focused a lot on the emergent issues that were happening in the Central City at the time. So homelessness, crime, trash, graffiti. But there was also a committee called the Value Proposition Committee, which we quickly renamed the Optimism Committee because everyone needed a dose of optimism at the time.
Right.
That was chaired by Nolan Leinhart. He's with CGF. And I came on kind of midway. ECHO was going to staff the whole task force, and I came on because that committee needed some special attention. And so as part of that work, over the course of like 3 or 4 months, we convened 24 listening sessions across all of Central City, all the neighborhoods, and also across many different topics ranging from like children and family to startups to the multifamily market. And our work, it culminated in a framework for how to think about the Central City into the future, but our recommendations didn't quite make it into the top 10 recommendations for the Central City Task Force.
And when you say Central City, are we talking just downtown? Are we Eastside? What's the kind of the geographical?
It's both sides of the river,
Okay.
and it runs from on the north side, the Albina neighborhood, all the way south to the OMSI area, over to South Waterfront, and then up to the Pearl District.
Got it.
And then east-west, central east side over to Goose Hollow. So our work was really focused on the areas of the Central City that had hurt the most post-pandemic. So really Old Town, the Broadway corridor, and then downtown Portland, but also central east side. But our recommendations spanned the whole Central City. So what happened was there were 10 recommendations that came out, like declaring the fentanyl emergency, recommendations around removing trash and graffiti. I don't know if everyone noticed all the graffiti that got removed from I-405 and I-5.
Yes.
That was a direct implication of the task force. But starting about June of last year, the governor said, hey, there was all these recommendations that came out of the Optimism Committee. Can you actually complete the work that you started? And so I started having coffee dates and small group sessions with the former committee members, and basically my charge was document all of the current energy around projects in the Central City, because there is a ton happening. And that's what I did. And so this report lines out the framework for the Central City, which is the region's shared gathering space, a hub for innovation, and also a set of complete neighborhoods. And all of the projects that I documented, I don't have a number, but there's probably like 100 in here in various stages of there's a whole map here in the report that I will link it, I assume.
We'll put the website up, people can get it.
And this is from June, so some of the projects have actually advanced, like the AEG Monkey venue and the Lloyd, and there's other new projects that aren't even on here, like the rumblings of a children's museum downtown.
Join the HFO community and get weekly multifamily intel. Click to subscribe.
So this was looking at projects that were in the works or going to be in the works within the Central City to give some optimism for what we've kind of coming out of this period where it's been a little tough.
Yeah, and also to set the stage for what we're hoping is a Central City Roundtable that will help steward the vision here and also help unblock a lot of these projects. Some of them don't need a lot of funding to get started. Other ones need regulatory changes, new connections and partnerships. And I think the biggest change is that we've had Clean and Safe and the Portland Metro Chamber as stewards of the Central City, but we haven't had a dedicated downtown association in a long time. And that's what we really need now is a multi-sector collaboration around a lot of these projects.
And are you getting buy-in from elected officials for that? Or it sounds like the governor is pushing for this. I mean, what's kind of the feedback you're getting from other, stakeholders?
We've started talking with the mayor's office, but we don't have a clear plan moving forward. We've lined out what we've talked about in our committee, and we're working on potentially launching a roundtable, but we're still kind of ironing out the details.
And then when you talk about these projects, are there certain projects that have a greater a halo effect where it's going to have a greater effect within the neighborhood?
Yeah.
What kind of projects are those?
Well, I think the neighborhood, the little sub-district that I'm really rooting for is what the Midtown Beer Garden has christened Midtown. And I'm not sure that's always going to stick, but it's the closest thing I can think of.
Okay.
So the James Beard Market, Midtown Beer Garden, you've got the 400 music venue going in there, and there's a lot of vacant retail space in the area right along the Transit Mall. And I think that that's an area where, especially you've got Mike Bennett's Aquarium, you've got the Pioneer Square, Powell's Books, that's all really walkable. And what downtown Portland needs is more destinations that you can chain together. So you're not just going to one thing, driving to one place, and then leaving.
So stuff that's kind of connected by. Yeah.
And so creating all of those little touch points, the James Beard Market is really going to provide that halo effect and be a huge contributor to revitalizing that Midtown area. I also am rooting for what I think will be a new cultural district in the Eastside around music. You've got the Live Nation venue, the new Doug Fir venue, and you've got the Wonderlove Food Cart Pod has a concert venue that has been kind of under the radar, but they're hoping to revitalize into a concert venue. So there's a lot. The Central Eastside Industrial Council has been working on activation of the Central East Side as more of an after hours.
So an after hours destination place.
Yeah. So that's and so those two are really showing up for me. And
then I was interesting, on the Live Nation venue, music venue, where you had existing venues upset about them coming. I mean, how do you overcome some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at a place now in our growth trajectory in Portland is we're kind of moving out of being a small town into an actual city, or we have over the course of the pandemic. And I know I don't have all the details of the agreements that Live Nation had made with the music constituents in the city, but it's important to remember that the project is locally developed by Beam Development, and Live Nation is the operator, just like Live Nation operates the Providence Park concerts. So people aren't really complaining about those. Those are a huge contributor to our whole Goose Hollow area and our stadium district. And so I think that I want to make sure that we are coming into it with an open mind when we're thinking about Live Nation and thinking about what that's going to add, because that has been vacant. Those have been just vacant blocks for
I know. Our office was kitty corner from there for years, and so
And I was looking out the Exchange building.
Yep.
I was at an appointment there, and I looked out and I saw them breaking ground on the Live Nation venue. I was like, oh wow, this is going to do a lot for the East Bank Esplanade and the whole that area, which is
and like you said, an after hours destination down there to energize and get people coming down there.
Yeah, and I was talking to the Live Nation folks about what do your artists think about this? And they're like, they love coming to Portland. They love just the artists, music artists love coming and being here. We had talked about some of the sauna activations that the Human Access Project has been doing at Selwood Park and up in St. John's, and there's some similar things they could do, and that's going to be really attractive to artists. So I think reclaiming Portland as a music community and building onto our brand, to me, I've found a lot of hope and optimism when you think about what we're good at, which is culinary. It's around music. And then we've got women's sports. We're doubling down with the WNBA coming up here.
Oh, we just got to hope the Blazers don't leave.
And that.
That might be, yes. In terms of doing this project with these other groups, I mean, what were some of the barriers to getting some of these off the ground? Is it permitting? Is it, red tape? I mean, is there recognition that some of that needs to be cut away to get some of these, altering projects up and going?
One of the starkest examples of a kind of a cultural barrier that I found in 2023 that no longer exists was around Waterfront Park and just thinking about commerce in the parks. When I interviewed parks in 2023, there was a lot of reticence to actually thinking about having vendors in the parks and opportunities for small businesses to enliven, especially the downtown parks. But that has completely changed.
So it was pushback back then, and we didn't want to have that going on.
And that they have just announced a really cool program through the Portland Parks and Rec Department has announced a program using Parking Kitty, which I think is so elegant, that vendors can come and be in the parks and operate just like paying that fee. And so that's an example of like, one of the cultural barriers I saw was sort of this culture of no, that's not how we do it. That's not the Portland way. And I think now like we've been shaken up so much that people are kind of reevaluating the Portland way and saying, I wonder if now's the moment we try to allow saunas to come into the park, to allow an ice cream cart, like all of these things. So that's an example. But there's a lot of other funding. I think it's our philanthropic scene in Portland is so much smaller than some of our competitor cities because we don't have those Fortune 500 companies, and everybody's asking the same people for money. And that is really challenging. And it's also a lot of our corporate donors, you can get them to sponsor an event, but it's hard to get them to actually like buy into a legacy project. Like what the James Beard Market is really showing that you can do it. You just have to be dogged in your approach, and you have to be out there pitching all the time. And so I think it's us getting behind and rooting for all these other projects that we know are going to be really catalytic.
And what was the feedback when this report was, dropped on, the city? I'm sure city council looked at it. I mean, was there buy-in there, or was it a kind of a wait and see and let's get a few projects going?
I remember I put it up on LinkedIn because we released it there was a PMC event in June, and the mayor and Nolan released it. And I was like, man, there wasn't enough of a splash here. So I put it up on LinkedIn, and I remember that was the first time one of my posts had gone viral. There was like 500 people that had liked it, all these reposts. And people, I think, were just like, oh, wow, like I didn't realize there were so many
things
projects.
Going on.
And there were so many, behind every one of those projects is a group of people that, despite everything, is doing it anyway.
Right.
And it's that like determination and kind of love for Portland that I think in 2025, I'm seeing a lot of, especially as we're thinking about like the South Water, like the ICE facility and the protests that are going on. People are like, Portland has its problems, but like, I love Portland. And that's like what this report is really trying to convey, is like, okay, yeah, we have a lot of issues around our tax regime and business competitive climate. It's very hard for apartment development. It's hard to get things off the ground. But there's sprouts, and like there's a lot of different ways that you can help. I just want to highlight one other thing. In the report, it highlights the areas of the central city that are likely to, the larger areas that are likely to redevelop over the next 10-ish years. Okay. So that's the Albina district. Albina Vision Trust is leading that. The OMSI district, Broadway, and Lloyd. And each one of those projects, each one of those areas has at least one project. If not a housing project, then like Lloyd has its concert hall, and they're starting to actually talk about the process for that. And I think that's really good news that like each of those projects has both housing coming out and there's an infrastructure need that they're conveying to all the powers that be. We also had last fall, Prosper adopted the 6 TIF districts, and in a few years in the West Side TIF district and the districts on the East Side, there will be tax increment available to invest in projects. So that's going to be the public-private partnership moving forward.
So we can maybe see some, like you said, some public push or onset on trying to get some of these projects up and going.
Yeah, because right now they're like we need a street developed, or we need this small investment, and there's no money available for any of it. But TIF can really be like the Pearl District, like South Waterfront. It can be the catalyzing force and ensure that these areas have housing, affordable housing, because 45% of there's a policy that 45% of the money goes towards affordable housing projects. So ensuring there's a mix of, the housing's for a mix of incomes.
So now that project is, I don't want to say it's done, but it's out, and I mean, is there like a second step to this? Do you revisit this in 2 years and say, okay, which ones came to fruition, which ones didn't? Why didn't these? Are there barriers that we need to look at?
2 things to highlight. Yes, we want to launch the Central City Roundtable, which will monitor a set of metrics, but coming from the public-private partnership side.
Okay.
So it's not a government-led entity. It would be privately funded. There would be public sector people at the table, but not that many, because we need to bring in all the sectors. Everybody's a partner.
Which has been a big complaint here about what stakeholders are coming in some of these, and it's the same voices again and again, and it's you're really getting a cross section of who needs to get these projects up and going.
And I see the power, like when I go in rooms where real estate people start talking to culinary people, or the PMC launched its Sports and Arts Coalition. Like, you see the power of when they're like, let's bring the ballerinas to the new practice facility. Like, whoa, that's cool. Like, working across sectors, even within the arts community, You would think they were talking all the time, and they're really not. So that's one piece. I want to also give a shout out to Ian McKenzie, who is of Next Portland. He basically was the person tracking all the projects. He had a map, he had a whole website, and he's relaunching his Next Portland effort as a true organization. And he, I think, in terms of tracking all the projects in a cohesive way like this one would, but updating it over time, I think Ian will be doing some of that as well.
Good. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to come in and talk to our audience. And again, if they want to see this report, it's available.
Yes, here it is.
We'll put the website up there.
There's a website, yeah.
Yep, we'll get that up on the thing, and we'll see you again next time. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you at Multifamily Market Watch. Thank you.
Our entire office specializes in multifamily real estate, making HFO the largest multifamily brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. Your success is our passion. Build your legacy with HFO. Call 503-241-5541 or visit our website at hfore.com for more information. HFO is a member of Global Real Estate Advisors. Learn more at grea.com.
Love the insights? Tap the like button and click subscribe. It helps us bring more multifamily news straight to you.